Enslaved Odyssey to the West review. Ninja Theory, the guys behind the game Heavenly Sword, which I must admit I never played, brings us the multi-platform game Enslaved. Loosely based on the ancient Chinese story Journey to the West, keyword there is loosely, it sees our lead character Monkey get kidnapped by a bunch of mysterious slavers. Trip, our female lead, breaks out, allowing Monkey the opportunity to bust out of his cell and escape the ship with Trip. When Monkey wakes up after his daring escape that almost kills him, he finds he's fitted with an enslavement band that effectively makes him Trip's slave. Hints in the name. Oh, and did I mention the game takes place in the distant future, where humanity is all but extinct and machines roam the world hunting down the remaining people? No? Oh, well, it is. And if you enjoyed the TV show The World Without Humans, then you're visually in for a treat. The game has a rather unique feel. It's like Half-Life 2 meets Okami. It's a destroyed world, filled with decaying buildings, with only a few contrasting new constructions. It's a dismal world filled with human ruins, but between the crumbling walls, nature has made a comeback, creating a vibrant, beautiful looking world. The game's impressive vistas can mean it becomes victim to drop frame rates, but generally it's not an issue. Technology throughout the world has been fully upgraded, with everything seemingly compatible with everything else. So Trip, with a magical holographic touchscreen, can interact with the environment, hack systems, open doors, scan the area, and then feed the information to Monkey via his enslavement bandana. Conversely, Monkey is a bit naive to the incredible alien technology that surrounds him and relies mostly on his impressive strength and humanly impossible acrobatic skills. Swinging around the landscape to pull levers, beating up various mechs, and literally carrying Trip around on his back. The game plays very much like a Prince of Persia game. In between free climbing around the levels, you come across plateaus where Monkey must take part in battles against various robots that populate the world, and I'm sorry to say, neither of them work as well as they should. I mentioned Prince of Persia, and in 2008, this series had a lot of criticism from reviewers, and myself, because of the linear paths that were almost highlighted for the players. They required no effort to travel along, removing any pleasure from navigating them, as well as having dull, repetitive battles. Well, Enslaved brings back these problems. While the game does look fantastic, it's clear that at some point it became too realistic and too hard to find a path through this gorgeous world, and so every object that Monkey can climb on is flashing white, which does mean you can't get lost, but it also means there's never any worry about, am I going along a dead end? No, just hold the L stick in the correct direction and keep pressing A, and you'll get there with no issue. Outside the flashing items on the wall, the game adds arbitrary limits to what platforms Monkey can jump on and off, often stopping you from jumping up a 5-foot wall, but allowing you to defy gravity while you're wall climbing. The game does attempt to add some excitement, by giving us a timer, placing us in environments that are falling apart, or occasionally attempting to give us a scare by having one of the handholds fall off as Monkey desperately hangs on for dear life. But in the end, all you need to do is hold the L stick in the right direction and tap A as fast as you can. Later levels do require more timing, but by then it's too little, too late. Then there are limits to where you can explore. Stray too far from Trip, even if you're attempting to kill robots shooting at her, and Monkey will start to get a fatal headache. Which brings us to the battles. Much more varied than my Prince of Persia example, but all the same, having only 5 types of enemies means fights become repetitive, especially towards the end. Fighting involves hitting robots with a stick. A magical, technologically advanced stick, but a stick all the same. Quick attacks, strong slow attacks, area attacks, and electrically charged attacks that stun enemies are the moves Monkey has, along with blocking and dodging. Enemies generally block and then sporadically lash out with a string of attacks, meaning most battles end up with one blocking and the other attacking in the hope of breaking their defense to cause damage. For the first half of the game, this is all fine, but then it falls foul of a problem that often crops up in games. To increase the difficulty, the game throws waves and waves of the same enemies again and again until you get completely bored of the whole thing. To spice things up, you can perform various takedowns on selected enemies, like making them explode, making them stun all surrounding enemies, or ripping off the gun arm and using it against your foes, but there aren't many types, and they happen far too infrequently for my taste. The stick, or staff if you prefer, can also fire an energy blast, allowing for long-range firefights. They are fun, and can require using Trip as a distraction, while you run for cover and then pop up to stun them, removing their shields, and then firing off a powerful blast to destroy them. These events often merge the acrobatic and fighting skills of Monkey with Trip's usefulness. It really makes the game shine. And the game does shine. Aside from the fantastic scenery, have I mentioned that? It also has some very impressive set pieces, like the slaver ship crashing into New York. A large mechanism running rampant through a theatre. Clambering your way across a giant walking tank, fighting off large scorpion robots. Also, the game has some real humour and emotion. While playing, I kept thinking of Beyond Good and Evil. And it's not just because both of them share a vaguely ethnically attractive woman that hangs out with a pig. It's because even if the characters don't always act like real people, you do end up liking them.
You're in trouble,
Way back at E3, I really thought this was a game that's going to wow people. But when the demo was released, it failed to wow anybody. And it's done the same since it was commercially released. Despite a promising concept, and a tried and tested, successful gameplay format, the game is a bit of a disappointment. Still worth a look if you're a fan of the Prince of Persia series, or you want something that can also act as a screensaver. I give this game a 7.5 out of 10.
You motherfucker!